Taisen Deshimaru said, "Think with your whole body," meaning thinking, contemplating, or pondering are activities that are not solely or primarily associated with the mind, intellect, and the other intellectual faculties as well. And that means thinking and contemplating cannot be necessarily considered to be limited to or restricted to the mind or the intellect only. And that means thinking is going to be difficult, complicated, challenging, and conflicting also, all by itself without any dependencies, requirements, or obsessions. When we think, we obviously enter into a lot of conflicts, problems, complications, and difficulties that may not always pertain to reality and that may not also always exist in our real life conditions either. But because we sometimes think, we end up creating a whole lot of anxiety and anguish that we should not have created in the first place, and that also are not valid because they don't exist, because they don't relate to the people or the things or conditions in which we are living. And that means thinking is a contradiction, a difficulty, and a challenge and a conflict all by itself without the act of thinking either. So, thinking does not necessarily limit itself to the mind only. In other words, the mind or the intellect are not the only organs or objects of thinking. We do not always have to use the mind to think, but we also always have to use the whole body, because thinking actually regulates through the whole body, the heart, and the other organs as well, including the brain, which is key and fundamental in the regulation, the processing, the memorization of all thinking and contemplation and pondering in one way or another. And that means when we think, our whole body reverberates, vibrates, and resonates either with our wisdom, knowledge, character, intelligence, or morality, or it just disconnects, or it implicates to us that our thinking may be wrong. So either ways, the body can be easily considered to be, because it has always been fundamental, important, imperative, and unavoidable in terms of thinking. When it comes to the whole act and process of thinking, the body is imperative and necessary also, without which our mind will be hollow and we will not be able to direct our whole body into the actions as well as into the character, perception, and mentality that our thinking basically suggests to us and tells us to entertain or to develop in the first place. So the body is key and indispensable when it comes